On the 17th of, what month is it? November, I guess. And we're at the little town of Chinchero in the highlands of Peru. And it's an Inca site with, of course, Spanish colonial built on top of it. So this lady's foot is on a big piece of stone that is megalithic. And then we have an Inca staircase we're going down. So this is all Inca period construction. So again, this is some of the fine Inca work and an Inca drainage channel. So the lighting is not that good because the sun is going down. But you see Inca work because you have the stone on the outside, but you have clay filler on the inside. When we get to the actual megalithic work, you'll see there's no filler. It's all perfect. It's all perfect from the front to the back. But this is Inca stuff. This big stone was probably recycled, megalithic, see, used by the Inca as a capstone piece. Thank you very much for the kind comments. Oh, there she is. So I'm with Nassim Haramein and his Resonance Academy. There they are as a group, 150 people from all over the world. But since we have a bit of time here, we're going to go up the staircase and I'm going to show you the megalithic part. Okay, so here, this is Inca or possibly Spanish colonial. See, it's kind of rough. Then right next to it is the megalithic work. This stone here is local from this area. This stone is basalt from 70 miles away. But again, what's intriguing is you have two megalithic styles. You have this, which actually this was rebuilt by the Catholic Church, but this is megalithic stonework. See the sense of scale there. And then this, actually this is probably Inca below it, maybe megalithic, probably Inca. We have our Kia, the moon. Again, we're going to walk over to another Inca construction. This is reconstructed from megalithic blocks. Especially that lintel. That lintel is at least 10 tons. Then look at the transition once again. Look at the very fine masonry here. Fine joinery, quite fine. And then right next to it, you have that. This is probably Spanish colonial work. They didn't care about construction technique, they just wanted to build a church. And probably pretty fast. And then here again, this is likely Inca because the size of the stones are not big, but the quality of the workmanship is quite high. So this is fine Inca stuff here. And the Sacred Valley of Peru is in between those mountains and where I am standing. Well, that's a good question. There are different styles of megalithic. One style is polygonal, which is what the Inca copied here. But of course, the megalithic stuff is much larger in scale. And then you have you have some actually linear buildings in Cusco. So one example some of you may have heard of is called the Coricancha. And since I still have a signal, I'll just keep walking. Once again, this site is called Chinchero. It's about 45 minutes drive outside of Cusco. So here we are, some bigger ones, but loose fitting. So again, this is probably Inca work. I'm going to see if we can find a patch of megalithic work. So again here, not very tight fitting work. Okay, here, this is likely more like megalithic that we're getting into. See, this is much finer quality of workmanship. Very, very tight fit. And here, no, Africans did not build any of it. So Chinchero is a very big ancient site. Thank you, Daniel. Very kind. Okay, here we have a megalithic block. And foot for a sense of size. See, it's probably a ton. Then we're going to see some megalithic carving over here. So here, you see this bedrock has been shaped, probably using advanced technology of some kind. And so, look, we still have a good signal. So let's go up this Inca period staircase. And here, I'll try to zoom, and you see all those carved surfaces. So this is pre-Inca work. So the stones are sitting on top of each other. But you see, this is only part of the complex of Chinchero. It's actually much, much, much bigger. That one's pretty big. Sure, sure. Actually, I'm doing YouTube live right now if you want to have some things to say.
Hi, it's amazing to be here. It's amazing to be here with you and to look at this architecture from pre-cataclysmic time, clearly not from the later years of the Incas, but pre-Inca construction, something that could not be done with bronze tools and copper tools at all.
Correct.
Clearly, as well, the stone has been altered. Uh, the, the way the stone is arranged one to each other,
Mm-hmm.
and how you can see that it flowed into the nook and crevices,
Uh-huh.
and how it matches each angle, and as well the bulge of the stone, seeing that like the stones as they were placed onto each other were probably in a state of plasma or in a state of flux in which they were more like marshmallow kind of texture,
Right.
and they were and so the weight of the stone on top pushing on the stones on the bottom, creating the bulge that we see on all of these Inca, on all of these walls that are pre-Inca, that are pre-cataclysmic, and we're starting to see this pre-cataclysmic understanding
Mm-hmm.
of these type of constructions from all around the world. It's very similar to the Egyptian constructions as well.
And even some in like places like Greece and Turkey and Italy.
Yes.
But actually, good point. Like you can see, there are no tool marks.
Right.
Inca had to have tool marks,
Right.
because they had to shape the stone. So this was done with a very advanced. There's no option but very advanced technology.
Exactly. It cannot be done with somebody going tick, 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 tick like that.
No.
Especially that the angles are all very, erratic, and as well they're not constant. Meaning it's not only when they go straight, you can see they go extremely straight.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they arrive in the nook and crevices, they match exactly.
Right.
And you can't do that with stones that size, trying to arrange them in some kind of puzzle,
Uh-huh.
and then have this level of precision when you're arriving in the nook and crannies on the corners,
Mm-hmm.
so you get something really straight, and then you arrive at the corner and you can see like this stone went up into this corner.
Right.
And then the roundness of this stone is matched by the roundness of this one. So like here you have something very, very straight, as if it was cut with like a diamond tool,
Right.
like a machining tool.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have something like completely difficult and erratic, and it's not like you could do this,
Mm-hmm.
by like lifting the stone, then recarving, and then trying to match the stone. I mean, it just wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's completely different.
Oh yeah.
And and when you look at this, for instance, you can see it's like almost fused here in between, and there's no mortar.
No. No.
There's no mortar because there's been earthquakes, and some of the stones you can see have budged.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And you can see there's no mortar, but you can see that it's almost fused in there,
Mm-hmm.
and that the stone must have been almost like a fluid
Mm-hmm.
when it was placed, like a paste,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it flowed, and so this is clearly not, bronze tool society, like Inca society,
Right.
building these kind of structures,
No.
these kind of the walls.
No. And also, this is different from from what we saw in Cusco, because this is like a metamorphosed limestone. In Cusco, we saw basalt. Then we also saw granite.
Right.
So to alter the molecular nature of those three different types of stone
Right.
would mean you would wind up with a different surface.
Mm-hmm.
So here it's really rough,
Mm-hmm.
whereas in Cusco we saw like beautiful flat surfaces.
Yeah, like perfectly polished.
Yeah.
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 But in all cases, you see this bulging.
Mm-hmm.
You see these kind of joints,
Yeah.
which are like almost fused,
Right.
right? And in
Yeah.
some cases fused.
Mhm.
And you see this kind of technique where at the intersection of joints, you can see the stone below it pushed into the joint, right?
Uh-huh.
Like if this was soft and this was soft, and then these two stones were placed on it, the material would push into the joint.
Right.
You see that.
Yeah.
And you see that in Cusco. We saw that across stones that have, almost a meter thick.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like that across the whole length.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise they would not, like the stones would be all cockeyed.
Oh exactly.
So
Yeah.
it has to match across the whole. So cannot be done with tools, knocking like this, or even with CNC.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I have CNCs in my laboratory, and we have like a very large one of the largest ones that are made for for tooling in laboratories,
Uh-huh.
right? And we're able to like mill something that's like 3 feet by 3 feet, right?
Uh-huh.
But it cannot weigh 50 tons, right? It cannot weigh 100 tons, and it cannot be, that bulky. You like a CNC might be able to do these cuts, right? If you engineered every stone, right, and then went and cut them, maybe you could do that. But there's nothing we have that would be able to manage that much material.
Right.
So it's even in modern era, this is not reproducible.
Right.
So of course it wasn't done by people, with mine ropes and copper and brass tools.
Well, also another point is we're like a lot of these places we're looking at 5%. This is 5% of what Chinchero is. If you keep going that way, it's more than 100 acres, and most of it's Inca, but some of it's like this. Some of this, this is beyond the Inca, and that's again every place we go, we see somebody was here with advanced technology. There's a cataclysmic damage that happened. They vaporized or abandoned or left on their spaceship or whatever. And then the Inca find it broken. They're blown away by what they see. And they say, we have to build something here because somebody beyond us was here.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And then if we go to those cornerstones, then these ones is nice because you can see the precision of the cuts.
Yeah.
You see, because it's budged, right? Because of earthquakes.
Exactly.
So this corner is budged because of earthquake. Look how straight that is up here.
Uh-huh.
Look how straight that is. And then look at this. In this here, you can see this curve, right, is a perfect match to this curve.
Right.
Right? And it's not like a linear curve.
No.
It's not like you can take a center and then with a string, make it. It's not a continuous curve.
No.
Right? It's a non-linear curve. So it has all kinds of different radiuses as you're going up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You gotta match this side to this side. Now look at this guy here. Right? So look at the compound curves you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Is very, very complex, and nothing you can imagine doing with tools. Now, if you look inside the back there, you can see even everything. You can see that this bulge here,
Right.
is actually larger than what's inside. Right? So this stone here is pushed out more here than what's inside.
Uh-huh.
Right? It's clearly when these two pieces would put on top of each other, they were soft.
Yeah.
This bulge pushed into this stone. And clearly, so you can see this kind of evidence. And it's so nice when they've moved a little bit from earthquake, because you can actually see the interior cuts and how clean it is.
Oh yeah.
Throughout.
Yeah.
Not just on the surface.
Nope.
I mean, look at this. Look at the match of this curve to this curve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's remarkable.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
And just the sense of scale, like this one, this one and this one.
Yeah, this one. I mean, this is what?
These.
Maybe 75 ton?
Well,
less.
it's beyond it's beyond human capability, I think.
Yeah, well,
And
definitely a bunch of guys lifting this thing.
yeah, or on rollers that didn't exist because there are no trees that grow straight. So
Oh yeah, that's
here's a good like matching gap too.
yeah. I actually this is lighter than the granite we saw. So
Yeah.
this is not as heavy.
But tomorrow we're going to Sacsayhuaman.
And
125 tons.
125 tons.
One
yeah.
of the stones at
So they were
Sacsayhuaman.
capable.
Well, but one of the stones.
Whether this is 3 tons or 50
Yeah,
tons. Yeah. But
it's the same builders. It's just Sacsayhuaman. There's one stone, 29 feet long.
uh-huh.
12 feet of it is underground because they actually dug down to find the foundation. They found out the foundation's 12 feet.
12
So
feet.
that thing weighs 125 tons.
125
No
tons.
tool marks. Erosion like this. Like this is
Similar.
excessive erosion.
Yeah.
This is not hundreds of years of wind and rain. This is thousands of years.
Thousands of years. I mean, when you look at this wall all together, you know, you can see the piecing together of all the stones
Hmm.
and like the engineering it would take to cut all these stones knowing where they're gonna all go.
Oh yeah.
So clearly not made that way.
No.
It's made as it went,
Yeah.
and the stones are molded into place because they're in a different state.
Right.
Right, and so so that might sound like really crazy.
It does, but
but there's not really 20 million alternatives.
No,
right?
no.
I mean, it's like, okay, it's not CNCs, it's not copper tools, definitely not.
Right.
So it's something vastly different, especially if you're talking about a 120-ton boulder.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So it's not like a bunch of guys like pulling it up, like cutting it a little bit, putting it back down, right?
No,
It's not
no,
happening that
no.
way. So we're talking gravity control,
Mm-hmm.
right? Capability of moving very large object with ease, gravity control. And when we're talking gravity control, we're talking huge amount of energy,
Oh yeah.
you know, to lift something that high. So if you energize a stone at those levels,
Uh-huh.
then it becomes plasma,
Uh-huh.
right? It becomes like plasmified. The energy levels, the ion energy levels in the stone, so it'll become soft. And I think this is what's happening. Now, you have, you know, like we don't have the science to reproduce that experiment currently in a laboratory, right? We don't have gravity control. So to us, it might sound completely extraordinary, but there's not 20 million explanation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's only a few possible things that has happened, and when you examine the rocks, and when you know, Egypt, Baalbek, all these places all around the world,
Yeah.
would have these huge rocks that were moved, you know, long distances. Clearly, this is way more advanced.
Yeah.
So now you have to be able to imagine past the tools we have today,
Right.
right? And that's hard because people are, how can that be? Well, why do we think that we would be the first one to come up with advanced technology? Like, the universe has been there for 13.7 billion years at least, right? We know. So it's like, why would so and so they could have been very advanced civilization on this planet. There's evidence that there was.
Yeah.
That in not only in their structures, there's here long prior to these later civilization like the dynastic Egypt or the Maya.
So it's the same thing. The Olmec, the Maya, the Aztec, they found places and they went, oh my God, who built this? This is now a sacred site to us. Because
That's right.
whoever this was way beyond what our capability.
Right.
Yeah.
And none of these cultures ever claim to have built them.
That's true.
These temples.
That's true.
They don't say we built the pyramids.
Right.
They say the sun gods built the pyramids, right?
Uh-huh.
So it really is like a different, you know, thing that like somehow, you know, the archaeological community has like completely ignored the local knowledge that is present in all these cultures. There's not one of these cultures around the world that says we built these things.
Exactly.
They all say sun gods, the sons of God or sun gods, came to the earth from the stars and built these things.
Very well said.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody.